Maybe you didn't realize it at the time. But there was a day when the sound of paws around the house just stopped. And the strangest thing wasn't the silence. It was the fact that even after you still swore to listen, as if, for a second, he was still there, coming toward you, around the hallway, past the living room, just like he always did. And maybe, as you watch this right now, there's a place in your house that still feels occupied, even though it's empty. Because when a dog leaves, he doesn't just take physical presence. He takes the rhythm of the house, the sound, the routine, but it doesn't take the bond. And that's exactly what this video is about. Today, you will understand why so many people feel that their dogs find a way back, return in a subtle way, silent, but deeply real. You will notice signs that you may have already experienced, but never knew how to explain. And mainly, you'll understand why this connection doesn't end on the last day. It just changes shape, because there is something that almost no one talks about, but whoever has loved a dog until the end feels it, and feels strongly. It's not just nostalgia, it's presence. It's as if, in some moments, he was still looking out for you. And let me ask you something. Have you ever had the feeling that he was still there, even after he was gone? Pause. Because if this has ever happened to you, so this video didn't appear by chance, and maybe not even that feeling that you keep to this day is just a memory. Stay with me until the end, because what you will understand here could completely change the way you see his departure, and mainly, the possibility that, somehow, he never really left. If you've ever shared your life with a dog, so there are things you don't forget. It doesn't matter how much time passes. It doesn't matter how many silent days came later. There are memories that are recorded, as if they were still happening, like the sound of paws following you around the house. You would get up just to get a glass of water, and when he realized, he was already behind, without making any noise, without asking for anything, just because I wanted to be close. And sometimes you didn't even pay attention at that moment. But today, you would give anything to hear that sound again. And there is also that scene that was repeated almost every day. The door. He knew. Somehow. He always knew. Before you even arrived. He was already there, waiting, as if his time was marked by yours, as if existing would wait for you. And when you entered, it was like you were the most important thing in the world, even if he had only been gone for a few minutes. Now tell me, who else welcomed you like this in life? Pause. And there's one thing that almost no one talks about, but everyone who has had a dog feels it. That look, silent, deep, a look that didn't need words, who seemed to understand when you were well, and especially when you weren't there. How many times did he stay close to you, without doing anything? And yet, was it exactly what you needed? Maybe you didn't even realize it at the time. But he wasn't just living with you. He was feeling you. And that's why, when he leaves, it's not just the physical absence that hurts. It's as if a part of your own emotional routine has been ripped away. The house remains the same. The objects remain in place. But everything seems out of place. Because it wasn't just a dog. It was a constant presence. It was silent company. It was someone who was with you in the simplest moments. And precisely for that reason, in the most important ones. If you've ever experienced this, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And maybe that's why, even after everything, there are still moments when it seems that he's still there. But there is a day that no dog owner forgets. It doesn't matter how much time passes. No matter how hard you try to move on, that day remains, recorded, heavy, almost as if time had slowed down, just so you could feel everything more intensely. Maybe it was an ordinary day, no warning, or maybe you already knew. And that only made everything more difficult. The way he looked at you that day, it was different, calmer, deeper, like there was something there that you couldn't understand, but you felt, and maybe you pet him more often, spoken to him in a softer way, or simply staying close, as if, deep down, some part of you knows. And then, the moment has come that no one is prepared to live. The last moment, the last breath, the last look, and after that, the silence. A silence that is not just the absence of sound. It's a void that takes up space, that changes the air in the house, that turns even the most familiar places into something strange. The corner where he slept, it's still there, but it's not the same anymore. The water pot, the toy, everything appears intact, except you. Someone once commented on something that never left my mind. She said that on her dog's last day, he did something that I had never done it before, even weak, even though I can't walk properly. He got up, slowly. He walked towards her, and he laid his head on her chest. It stayed there for a few seconds, without moving, and then he lay down, and he left. She said that at that moment she felt two things at the same time, a pain impossible to explain, and a strange feeling of conscious farewell, as if he knew, as if he had chosen that last gesture. And maybe you've experienced something like this too. Something small, but it never made complete sense, until now. Because when we remember that last day, there's always a stuck question, silent but insistent. Did he know he was leaving? Or was he trying to tell you something before he left? After that day, the house wasn't just silent. She became different. It's not something that can be explained easily. Everything remains in the same place. The furniture, the objects, the routine trying to return. But there is a strange feeling in the air, as if something was still there, even when he isn't. The place where he slept still looks busy. You walk past him, and for a second, you hesitate, as if he didn't want to get in the way, as if somehow he was still resting there. And sometimes something happens that's even harder to ignore. You listen, a light sound, almost imperceptible, like the touch of paws on the floor, or a quick movement in the corner of the house. And when you look, there's nothing, but your body reacts. Your heart races, because for a moment, it seemed too real to be just imagination. If you've been through this, you know. It's not the same as remembering. It's different. It's like feeling before thinking. And there's more. Times when you are sad, without talking to anyone, and suddenly comes a strange feeling of comfort, as if someone was there, no touching, without showing up, but present, like he used to do, lay close, stay silent, just being. And that is confusing, because the mind tries to explain, try to say it's nostalgia, which is habit, which is just memory repeating patterns. But the heart doesn't accept it so easily, because it seems too alive. I need it too much, too synchronized with what you're feeling. And then a silent conflict arises within you, between what you learned and what you feel, between logic and experience, between absence and presence. And maybe, deep down, there's a question you've never said out loud, but it has crossed your mind more than once. And if this isn't just nostalgia, but a way for him to still try to be close to you? There is a moment in which we begin to realize that what we feel is not just ours. Other people, in different places, with completely different stories, they report exactly the same things, similar sensations, similar moments, presences, similar. And that starts to bother you in a different way, because it's no longer just emotion, and it starts to look standard. A woman said that weeks after her dog left, She began to notice something strange every night, always at the same time. She was lying down, almost falling asleep, when I felt a light weight at the foot of the bed, exactly where he used to sleep. At first, she ignored it. He thought it was his body relaxing, the mind creating images, but this started to happen again, at the same time, in the same way, with the same feeling, until one day, she didn't move. He didn't open his eyes. It just stayed there, feeling. And, according to her, it was the first night the pain subsided, as if that presence, don't bring nostalgia, bring company. Another person reported something even more direct. He said that, a few days after the loss, I was going through a very difficult time, sitting on the living room floor, crying. And in the middle of that silence, he clearly heard the sound of nails touching the floor. That specific sound, unmistakable. She stopped. He held his breath. And for a second, she felt the same kind of calm she felt when he approached. He didn't see anything, but he felt it, and that was enough. These stories are not rare. They repeat themselves, with different details, but with the same essence. Presence, consolation, continuity, and perhaps the most curious thing. These experiences almost always happen at specific moments, moments of fragility, of silence, with more intense longing, as if, somehow, they knew, and choose exactly when to appear. If you've ever experienced something like this, or even something smaller, more subtle, tell us here in the comments. Because when these stories start to come together, they no longer seem like coincidences, and they start to look like a type of connection that has not yet ended. Maybe you've been through all this, sense, perceived, but he never had the courage to accept it completely. Why accept this? It changes everything. It changes the way you see the match, change the way you interpret silence, and mainly, change the meaning of longing, because there is a simple idea, but profoundly transformative, that the bond you created with him. It wasn't just physical. It never was. It was emotional. It was energetic. It was conscious. And bonds like this do not disappear with the end of the body. They continue. Otherwise, on another level, but they continue. Think with me. Your dog knew your steps. I knew when you were sad. I felt when something wasn't right. Speechless. No logical explanation. I just felt it. So why would it just end? Why such a deep connection? Would it end so completely? Maybe it won't end. Maybe it will transform. Maybe he's not here like he used to be, but still be connected to you in some way. And this is where many people begin to understand something important. These presences are not random. They don't happen at any time. They appear when you need them, when the pain tightens, when silence weighs heavily, when you feel most alone, as if there was an intention, as if it existed. Be careful. And this leads to a realization that changes everything. Maybe he's not trying to come back. Maybe he never stopped being with you. This is the phrase that many people avoid thinking about. But when you accept, something inside changes. Longing is no longer just pain, and it starts to carry a different kind of feeling. Silent presence, continuity, connection. If this makes sense to you, write here in the comments, he's still with me. Not as proof to anyone, but as an internal recognition. Because, in the end, maybe what you feel is not imagination. Maybe it's just a type of connection you are still learning to understand. Now come back with me, just for a moment. There at the beginning, when I talked about the sound of paws around the house, that sound that one day stopped, but sometimes it seems to come back. Maybe you thought it was just a memory, just habit, just longing trying to fill the void. But after everything you've heard so far, Maybe that sound means something else. Maybe he's not an echo of the past. Maybe it's a sign of continuity. Because the truth is, some presences no longer need form to exist. They continue through what was built, from the bond, from the connection, of what was experienced together. And that's why certain moments still happen. That sudden feeling of company, that unexpected comfort, that moment when silence seems less empty. Maybe you'll never see him like you used to again, never touch again, never listen clearly again. But that doesn't mean he disappeared. It just means that you need to learn to recognize it another way. Because whoever has been by your side in the simplest moments, who waited for you at the door, who followed you around the house without asking for anything, who stood with you in silence when no one else did, it does not create a common bond. Create something that leaves a mark. And brands like this, they do not fade over time. They change shape. They become more subtle, quieter, but still present. And maybe that's why, even today, there is a place in his house that still feels like his, a space you never managed to fill. And maybe it doesn't even need to, because maybe he never really left that place. Maybe he just learned to be there in a way that you are still beginning to understand. So, the next time you feel something strange, a light sound, a feeling of presence, or even that comfort that arrives without explanation, don't brush it away right away. Don't try to erase it. Just watch, feel, because it might not just be nostalgia. It could be continuity. If this video touched you in any way, tell me here in the comments. What was the moment when you most felt he was still close? Because when you share this, you don't just remember, you help other people realize that they are not alone in this feeling. And maybe none of us are. In the end, that sound of pause around the house, maybe it was never just a sound. Maybe it always was. A way for him to say, I'm still here.